I think the majority of us would agree that life can feel pretty overwhelming, especially right now. Whether it's the economy, it's politics, it's social media, or just what other random people are doing. It's enough to make a lot of people feel stuck and unmotivated. But the truth is this: most of us waste our time and energy on a lot of things that we just simply can't control. Real freedom is going to come from the time when you can learn to focus only on what is inside of your control and just let the rest of it go. So, today I want to talk about why this mindset shift is so powerful, why it's harder than ever for our generation to get a hold of this, and also why letting uncontrollable things drag you down is one of the most destructive habits that you can have in your teens, your 20s, or honestly, whatever point you are at in life. Now, why do we stress over what we can't control? Well, it's because every day we're hit with new headlines, whether it's about inflation, or it's about layoffs or wars, and just overall political chaos. Plus, then you add in the endless opinions that you see on social media about every single topic that exists, and it feels like the world is just stacked against us. And the problem is this: most of those things they're a part of what psychologists call the circle of concern. Of course, they matter to a certain extent, but they're out of your direct control. Your circle of control is a lot smaller. That makes up your habits, your reactions, your mindset, or even your work ethic. And the sad part is, most people live their entire lives stuck in the concern circle. They worry about things they'll never be able to fix, while ignoring the little things within themselves that they could fix that would also change their lives. And that's the trap that we want to try to avoid. So we need to talk about the power of having a control horizon. The control horizon is recognizing where that line is to be drawn for you. It's the difference between, wasting years of your life stressing about what the economy will do versus spending those years building your savings, building your skill sets, your resilience, your financial literacy. For example, you're never going to be able to stop a recession, but you can prepare for one. You can complain all you want that a recession's coming, that the government's doing the wrong things. But if you don't prepare for a recession and you just spend your time complaining, you're never going to progress. On the flip side, you can't make someone like you, but you can show up with integrity, effort, which usually, wins in the long run anyway. And this mindset doesn't mean being careless about the bigger world. A lot of times when I talk about this, people instantly say, well, you don't care about the world. It's not that at all. It just means putting your time and energy into your actions that actually move your life forward. And this is how you build confidence instead of anxiety for your future self. So think about some of these, real world examples. If you think about money, you're never going to be able to control when the stock market dips, but you can have a plan in place. So you can control if you panic sell or if you're going to keep investing consistently. You can't control if your company decides to do layoffs. You can complain about it. You can post on TikTok that you hate your company, but at the end of the day, you can't control them if they're going to do a layoff. But you can control, building a network, learning new skills, making yourself marketable. Even socially, you can't control if every single person likes you, but you can control your attitude, how you treat others, how you react, how you carry yourself. The people who focus on those controllables always bounce back faster, no matter what life is going to throw at them. I personally think this is especially extremely difficult for Gen Z and millennials right now, because for this generation, it's brutal. When you grow up online and you're plugged in 24/7, you see everything before it's even fact checked. Every single disaster is instantly thrown in your face with a headline. Every political fight you see firsthand. Every global crisis you see firsthand. But, and on the same flip side of that, you see, influencers living their best life, investors buying this and buying that. And when you combine all that on top of just normal life, student debt, housing costs, inflation, job market instability, it creates this constant feeling that we're doomed before we even get started to living our true lives. And that's why I believe so many young people feel stuck or anxious or just hopeless in general. But once again, here's the silver lining. Just because something affects you doesn't mean it has to control you. Knowing the difference between being aware and being consumed is the skill that can really change a lot when it comes to your life. And I think the topic that's having the biggest effect on younger people, especially in America, is politics and world climate. And while politics and world climate absolutely matter, and some of it might even directly impact me or impact you, the danger comes from this. When you start seeing these young people make rash decisions with major consequences because they don't like the direction the government's going, or they're doom scrolling every headline, or they're just letting, politics or the world climate just ruin their day, their month, their year, draining them of motivation, draining them of success. It's a major problem. And yes, of course, it is absolutely okay to care about these issues. It's okay to be informed. It's okay to take action where you can, like voting or volunteering or, making, sustainable lifestyle choices. But once you've done that, once you've taken care of what's within your control, you have to protect your inner peace. If you let every headline about politics or the world dictate your mood, or every political debate just absolutely drain your energy, you're going to burn yourself out of life. You're going to paralyze yourself. And the worst part is you'll lose the ability to build the one life that you actually do control, which is your life. You're going to lose that ability to have control over your life and just worry about all the other noise around you. I think one of the most underrated benefits of focusing on what you can control is how much better it genuinely makes your mental health. Most anxiety is born out of trying to fix things outside of our reach. But when you narrow it down to what you can actually do, things like worrying about your sleep, your finances, your daily habits, your relationships, life all of a sudden starts to feel a lot more stable if you can focus on what you can control. And just like every topic, we talk about, or skills, that stability compounds. You'll feel grounded. You'll feel a lot more capable. And suddenly, problems that used to potentially crush you, they might feel a lot more manageable. And the less energy that you waste fighting things that you'll never change, the more energy you gain and apply towards improving yourself. So the main way that I can try to sum this up for you guys is don't let external chaos become internal chaos. Now, obviously, let me preface this. Audit your situation. If you're living in a war zone, that's a completely different topic than what I'm talking about. Of course, you're worrying about it then. But this is where, truthfully, people lose, because the outside world is chaotic. But I don't know if you knew this. It's always been. It's not just our timeline we're living in. The outside world has always been chaotic, and unfortunately, it's always going to be chaotic. Whether, Trump's in office or not, whether there's a war, overseas or not, life's always going to be chaotic. But too many of us let that external chaos become our internal chaos. For example, the economy's shaky. People immediately feel hopeless about their financial future. Or someone on social media posts about their perfect life. Suddenly, you might feel like you're failing, even though nothing about your life in that moment has changed. Or someone, posts an opinion that is against your opinion, and all of a sudden you hate that person. Why? Just because they have a different opinion? So, like I said, the outside world is going to be chaotic. You can control whether you allow that chaos in your life or you allow yourself to move past that chaos and work on building yourself up. Because you can't control the outside chaos, but you can control how much it affects yourself. So learning to create kind of that calm inside, even when the outside world feels completely unstable, is probably one of the strongest things that you can develop, especially the earlier the better. And let's talk about the long-term payoff of doing something like this. When you stop wasting energy on uncontrollables, you become extremely steady. People notice. It's not just going to affect you. People around you are going to trust you more. Friends are going to rely on you. Relationships are going to improve because you're not reacting to every little nuanced thing. And ironically, by staying focused on what you can control, you often expand your circle of influence because people trust the people that don't panic, that don't worry about the little things. Over the years, this mindset compounds into peace, confidence, and the kind of success that doesn't just look good on the outside but actually feels good on the inside. Think about people around you. If there was someone that always worried about the smallest things, what's the saying, don't cry over spilled milk. If there was someone that cried over every single little piece of information they got online, You wouldn't want to trust that person to be a leader. You wouldn't want to trust that person to be around you or make certain decisions. So it's learning to, audit what you can actually control and worry about those things. So here's my challenge to you guys. The next time that you feel stressed or overwhelmed, pause yourself and ask, is this in my control? If it is in your control, act on it. If it's not in your control, let it go. And it might be hard because it might be something that pulls on your heartstrings, or it might be something that, may be affecting, someone else in a different area. But you have to try to let it go. And it sounds simple, but it's completely life-changing if you can do this. Your 20s don't have to be about consistently drowning in worry. They can be about building peace, stacking wins, and making one controllable decision at a time for yourself. If you guys got any value out of this video, I appreciate a subscription and a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good day.